Can you live without a stomach? Well, I'm living proof that you can, and I'll tell you what the difficulties are right here in this video. Well, it's been a year and a half since my surgery, and the big question is, can you live without a stomach? And here's living proof that you definitely can live without a stomach. It's not easy. Life has a little bit of adjusting that needs to be done, but I'm still alive, still kicking, still able to work on projects and carry on a normal life pretty much. Some of the key factors with not having a stomach, and in case this is the first video that you've seen of mine in the series on esophageal cancer, I had my stomach and trachea, esophagus I should say, removed because I had cancer. So they basically cut a slot in your throat here, literally rip your throat out and cut your stomach open and pull your abdomen open and take your stomach out, and then they pull up, they chop up your stomach into a tube shape, and they pull it back up through this hole here, and they tie it all back together, and you're now without a stomach. So it's pretty awful when you think about it like that. And when they remove your stomach, they also remove the two valves that go from the intestines is one, and the one that goes to your throat to keep food from coming up, they remove that one as well. And those were the side effects and the issues that you have after you're removed, on your recovery. The valve that goes from their stomach down to the intestines, since you no longer have a stomach, everything you eat shoots right through your system, and if you eat too much sugary foods or anything that's has a lot of that's rich. Also, I found out that milk I don't do well with. Basically, it shoots through your system, and where that valve was, which is no longer there, it used to regulate, the food going through, and it would kind of mix in your stomach with everything else, and it wouldn't be as rich going through. Now it just shoots through, so anything sugary or rich foods will go through, and you'll get this feeling if you eat too much. I can eat. There isn't anything that I can't eat that I couldn't eat before the surgery. Although I may say milk, dairy products, I'm not sure if that's lactose intolerant now, which I wasn't before. That's somewhat of an issue. But everything else I can eat in moderation. I can have a handful of M&Ms, no problem. If I have 2 handfuls of M&Ms, I'll get this feeling that, holy cow, I'm really sick to my stomach. And it's interesting because you say stick to my stomach. Well, I don't have a stomach, but it's that same exact feeling if you've ever just gone, oh, my stomach doesn't feel well. Well, that's exactly what, they call it dumping syndrome, and that's exactly what the issue is too much foods going through. The only remedy that you can do is don't eat so much of those type of foods. Sweets you got to cut back on. But after about 30 minutes, no matter what, if you eat too much or too much of sweets, about 30 minutes it'll go away, and then you'll be fine. You can do pretty much anything you want. Large, they told me they wouldn't be able to eat large portions, but I'm almost able to eat a full-size regular plate of food. So my portions aren't really that different. I just have to. One of the big things is I can't exercise or do any physical activity after I eat. Almost any proportion. I got to wait like 30 minutes so that food gets past that missing valve into my system before I could do anything. But once it gets past there, I could run across the yard at full speed if I wanted to, or do pretty much anything. It's just I have to take it easy after I eat for a little while. So that's the food going that direction. Let's see, the other issue is the other valve, the other direction that's gone. This keeps food from coming up. I had a lot of trouble when I first started going to sleep because I sleep on my stomach, and if you lay flat or even try to lay it on some pillows, the food comes up in the middle of the night, or not even that. I've had it come up within 45 minutes after I've laid down. It took me a while to figure out what I needed to do. Man, I've had a couple of times at the beginning where I'm sound asleep, and all of a sudden I've sucked in a bunch of bile that has come up and it's gone down into my lungs, and I spent hours coughing and hacking, and man, it was just horrible and burning. Yeah. So I haven't had one of those incidents in a while, and that's because of what I've done to my bed, which I'll explain here shortly. Food coming back up is an issue that you always have to be aware of. There's nothing that anyone can do at this point. So you just got to watch, not hanging upside down. I find sometimes when I'm working on my car, if I'm leaning over or laying down, don't do it after you've eaten something, and you kind of got to sit up every once in a while and swallow, and try to keep that from happening. So anyway, those are the basic two issues that you have to deal with not having a stomach. Eating too much sweets or stuff that's rich in rich foods, and food coming back up. I sleep 100% on my stomach. I guess kind of on my side sometimes, but my deep sleep is on my stomach. And that's the worst possible position you could sleep in if you're missing your valve or you have a messed up valve in your stomach, because the food comes up. I tried sleeping with pillows, and I bought a wedge pillow, and I would find myself waking up in the middle of the night at the bottom of the bed where I've slid all the way down the wedge pillow, and then I'm laying flat, and then all of a sudden food comes up. It's happened to me when this all started. There's been about 4 times where I was choking to death, asphyxiating, because the food had come up in my sleep, and then I inhaled, and then the bile and nasty stuff then went down into my lungs, and it was horrible. And I've slowly been trying to adjust myself to do that. Finally, I ended up buying a adjustable bed, and that has helped out quite a bit. I've had issues with the adjustable bed because the bed, all the adjustable beds that are consumer grade, the head goes up, and then the foot kind of comes up, but you can't sleep like that, because especially if you sleep on your stomach, because you're sleeping like in this curve, and it's not like the whole bed is coming up at an angle. It's just the very tip of the bed, about 2 feet is coming up at an angle, because they're basically made for sitting up in bed and reading, not for laying at an incline. So what I did I slept like that for a while, thinking, okay, well that'll help, and it helped food from coming up. But the issue was because I'm sleeping on my back, and I'm at an angle now. It's like, you come down, and then it goes flat. So my body was sleeping, and I was waking up with these terrible back aches. So I ended up basically taking a sheet of plywood, 3/4 inch plywood, put some angle on the ends to keep it from bowing, and I laid that down on top of my adjustable bed. So now when I raise the foot of my bed up, when I raise the head of my bed up, it's not just the very edge of the bed raising up. The entire bed, because it's got the plywood underneath it, goes at an angle. So I'm laying flat. I'm just flat. My body is straight, let's put it that way, but I'm at an angle to keep the food from, coming up when I'm sleeping. And that's worked really well. It's still annoying that I have to sleep like Frankenstein almost on this, incline. If I just keep going a little bit more, I'd be standing straight up sleeping. So I'm sleeping about that much of an angle, and I do end up sliding down the bed, and every couple points during the night I got to scoot myself back up to the top of the bed. It's been working really well. Hopefully I can show you some pictures of the bed and what I've done. because the regular adjusting of the bed, you got to alter it. You got to put a piece of wood in there to keep so that you're flat. The one of the weird things is it's been a year and a half, and my doctors, my surgical doctors, which have been really I think they're the best in the country. No one at the office has called me since my surgery asking how I'm doing, wondering if there's any unusual side effects, or calling me for any information at all. I kind of thought that was a little odd. You would think there would be a little bit of a follow-up so that maybe they could continue to learn about different things. And what if I guess if I was having a lot of issues, they would expect that I would call them, but you'd think that they would call me just to find out how I'm doing. So anyway, that's pretty much an update of how I'm doing. I've done a lot of projects around the house. I remodeled the whole back of our house and tore out the back wall and put windows in, and built this cover for the chickens out here. I'm building a studio on the other side of our property. So it hasn't slowed me down any. Let's put it that way. So there's one more area that I'll briefly talk about, and that is going to the bathroom. I'll just say number one and number two. Number one, there's no problems, but number two, because you don't have a stomach that takes all of that food and digest it in one spot, and basically it's I think of it as a trash compactor, where it takes all your food and it just compacts it into this nice little stool and then it goes through your system and comes out like normal. But when you don't have a stomach, things change a little bit, and that's because it no longer goes into this one area that sits for a while and compacts. As soon as you eat your food, it goes into your small intestines, and it never really has an opportunity to compact. So 9.9% of the time when you're going to the bathroom, number two, it's not as firm as it used to be. It's kind of coming out, and it's not necessarily what's the word, digested as well as as normal, because it's just it's going right in your throat and through your intestines and out the other end. So it's sometimes I notice, like when I'm at work, there are times where I'll have to go to the bathroom a couple times because it's it's going through not at an even pace, and it's not digested completely, and that's I think also why I think people lose a little bit of weight, is because you're not getting the full nutrition, because it's not in your body for as long as it normally is. It just kind of goes through and comes out. So that's one thing I kind of wanted to point out. People wondering what the change is going to be. That'll be a little bit of a change. One thing that I do try to do, and I think it helps. I don't know. I use that benefiber, and I mix some up in my coffee in the morning, and I think it helps tighten things together a little bit. It's pretty expensive. That stuff's like $23 a bottle, about this big, and it's benefiber. And there's probably some other stuff that may be a little cheaper, but that's what I use, and I think it helps. It's weird. There'll be some days where I don't have a bowel movement at all, and then other times I'm going 3-4 times to the bathroom in the morning. Anyway, there's a little bit of additional information that maybe you didn't want to know. So I probably don't sleep as good as I used to, because that's always in the back of my mind of, am I gonna choke to death tonight? I wonder, could I ever go scuba diving? Because as you scuba dive, I can't imagine. I think I would even want to try. Because if I was scuba diving and you're diving down, you're going at an angle, and you're going downhill, and if something starts to come up, it's not like you can cough. I guess you could cough with your regulator on, but I don't think I would want to take the chance on that. So I think my scuba diving days are over. I've done these series of videos so that people can kind of see and learn from my experience of going through this, because it's not an easy process and it's definitely a learning curve, and everybody is a little bit different on what you've had. Some people may not have had cancer, but they've had gastric bypass surgery or other types of things that this kind of deals with, but the effects are all pretty much, well, I won't say pretty much the same. Everybody's a little bit different, and I'm just telling you what my story is and what I went through. So can you live without a stomach? Absolutely. Can you live a healthy, full life? I believe so. I'm hoping to live a healthy and full life. And I wish everyone the best that's watching this video, because if you're watching this video, there's probably something going on that you're concerned about and that you may be going through. Feel free to leave me a comment. I'll try to reach out to you when I can, and I wish everyone the very best. Thanks for watching.